You are listening to Christian Audio's production of Feelings and Faith, Cultivating Godly Emotions in the Christian Life by Brian S. Borgman. This book is read by Ed Phillips. This audio recording was produced in 2016 by Christian Audio, which owns the copyright. No portion of this recording may be reproduced for any reason without prior written consent from Christian Audio. This edition is published by Christian Audio under an agreement with Good News Publishers, Crossway Books and Bibles, based on Feelings and Faith, copyright 2009 by Brian S. Borgman. Please visit christianaudio.com, facebook.com/christianaudio, or twitter.com/christianaudio to offer your impressions of this work and to explore additional titles. Preface. I'm a pastor who loves theology. The theological stream I consciously drink from takes doctrine very seriously, something with which I wholeheartedly agree. That's one of the reasons I drink there. My theological tradition, Reformed, puts a great deal of emphasis on the mind. It is a strongly academic tradition and can become very cerebral. So why am I writing a book about the emotions? A few years ago, I felt the need to teach on the emotions, since I believe that there is a biblical doctrine of the emotions, and am convinced that in our more mind-oriented tradition we could use some perspective on the emotions. I started a short sermon series. I took up the series with enthusiasm. Some in our congregation were a little wary. However, over the years, I'd put quite a bit of thought into the emotions from a few different angles. John Piper, Jonathan Edwards, and others had furnished much biblical food for me to digest. My own doctoral work on preaching at Westminster Seminary in California had directed me into the specific area of preaching and the emotions, both in the preacher and in the hearers. There was also the steady load of pastoral counseling that had forced on me the necessity of helping people deal biblically with their emotions. It seemed to me that much of what we hear about the emotions is unbiblical and therefore unhelpful. Therefore, I eagerly set out to preach 2 or 3 messages on the emotions. Those 2 or 3 turned into 22 sermons, and I still felt there was more to say. The sermons aired on Pilgrim Radio, our local Christian radio station. The response was very positive. Our church administrator also added the emotion sermons to our collection on sermonaudio.com. Over the last few years, we have been amazed at how regularly those sermons on the emotions are the highest ranked according to downloads in all the sermons we have listed. My fellow elders and our church administrator pressured me, gently and steadily, to get the series in print. I am personally thankful to the Lord for the number of people who have expressed gratitude for how He has worked through those sermons to bring them much-needed help. It was the positive response of our own congregation and the response of listeners over radio and the Internet which compelled me to put this material in print. It is my hope that God would use what His Word says about the emotions to help more people gain mental and emotional stability and joy rooted in our triune God for His glory. Who is this book for? This book is practical theology. To my ears, practical theology sounds redundant. All theology should be practical and applicable. Many do not see theology that way. My conviction, however, is summed up in what was said about Jonathan Edwards. All of his doctrine was application, and all of his application was doctrine. Practical theology simply should be biblically sound theology, built on good biblical exegesis and exposition, which is then formulated and articulated. In turn, the theological formulation, clearly emerging from the Bible, intersects with real life. The intersection of truth and life is called
Sample complete. Ready to continue?